If you are watching this video, then I am impressed with your thirst for Disney knowledge. This is one of the lesser known Disney movies. It had aims of being the next Snow White. It was the start of a new era with Michael Eisner as CEO and Jeffrey Katzenberg as the newly appointed chairman of Walt Disney Animation Studios. Find out why this film missed the mark. This is 100 Facts about the Black Cauldron. The Black Cauldron was based on a book series written by Lloyd Alexander. Disney acquired the rights to the books in 1973, with production beginning in 1980. It was Ollie, Johnston and Frank Thomas, two of Disney's 9 old men, that convinced the studio to produce the movie. They believed if it was done properly, it might have been as good as Snow White. This was a new era in Disney. The Disney company almost had a corporate takeover. This led to Ron Miller, the current president of the company, and Walt Disney's son-in-law, stepping down from his role.
And I was in John Musker's office. I think it was Steve Hewlett came in with the memo saying that Ron Miller had resigned, and we were shocked. It was a huge bombshell to go off, but I thought it was, terrific news that maybe it meant that things were going to actually get better at the studio. And John, I think, felt the same way. He seemed pretty excited about it, but Ron was worried in a sort of melancholy mood, said it could always get worse.
Roy E. Disney, Walt's nephew, hired Michael Eisner as the new CEO and Frank Wells as the new president.
It was Frank Wells that gave Roy the idea of making Michael the chairman. Frank and Roy were classmates at Pomona College in the early 50s.
I thought, Frank's more of a businessman, and Michael's a little nuts. And the two together kind of in some ways made me think of, my dad. So we began saying, how would you two like to take this job?
Eisner hired Jeffrey Katzenberg as head of the film division, but he proved to be a controversial figure. He often forced the animators to work long hours and overtime to complete the films.
I had no experience with Hollywood at that time. My experience was with kindly old men with cardigan sweaters, and they would sit around and pat you on the back. And here's these guys hollering foul language in the middle of story meetings and, a splash of cold water. Suddenly a wake up to reality. You're in the real world here.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, and welcome to the Disney Sunday Movie.
The original book series had over 30 characters. So, several story artists and animators worked on the development of the story, deciding which sections of the book should be used for their version. The first director attached to the project was animator John Musker, who would go on to become a legendary Disney director. John Musker and his future directing partner, Ron Clements, left the project citing creative differences and began development on The Great Mouse Detective, which would start their incredible career directing Disney films. When production on The Fox and the Hound had wrapped, animation directors Art Stevens, Richard Rich and Ted Berman became involved in The Black Cauldron. Joe Hale, who was a long-time layout artist at the Disney Studios, was brought on to serve as the producer. Hale tossed out character artwork submitted by Tim Burton. This upset the young animator and led him to quit Disney. There was a test screening for the film just before it was about to be released in 1984. The film proved to be too intense and disturbing for the majority of children in the audience, most of whom ran out of the theatre in terror before it was even finished. The newly appointed Jeffrey Katzenberg ordered scenes to be cut. Animation films are generally edited in the storyboard stages, so the producer Joe Hale objected to Katzenberg's demands. Katzenberg responded to this by having the film brought to him and started to re-edit the film himself.
The first couple of weeks I was at the studio, I saw The Black Cauldron. It was a very dark movie and a very troubled movie. This is just way, way, way too violent and too scary. You have to edit some of these things out. And they said, well, you can't edit an animated movie. I said, well, of course you can edit an animated movie. They said, well, no, you can't.
Hey, no, you don't.
You would think that I was causing World War III there at the studio, because I literally said, well, you know what, you get the film and bring it to an edit bay, and I'm going to show you how you edit an animated movie.
I mean it.
Jeffrey was hands-on, elbows on, sharp elbows on. You never knew if he was going to hug you or kick you.
Hale informed CEO Michael Eisner of what Katzenberg was doing. Michael Eisner got on the phone to Katzenberg and convinced him to stop. Though Katzenberg did what Eisner insisted, Katzenberg requested that the film be modified and delayed. He wanted to delay the film from Christmas 1984 to 1985 so the film could be reworked. The film was ultimately cut by 12 minutes, with existing scenes rewritten and reanimated for continuity. The Black Cauldron is notable for being Disney's first animated feature film to use computer-generated imagery. I mean, by a technicality, because it was released first. The first time it was done was on The Great Mouse Detective. Both films were in production at the same time. When producer Joe Hale saw what was being done, the possibilities made him excited, and he made the crew from The Great Mouse Detective create some computer animation for his own film. They used computer animation for bubbles, a boat, a floating orb of light, and the cauldron itself. For other effects, animator Don Paul used live action footage of dry ice mists to create the steam and smoke coming out of the cauldron. Fun extra fact, the smoke during the transformation of the beast is the real smoke originally used in the Black Cauldron. The budget was officially released at $25 million. However, the film's production manager Don Hahn said in his documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty that it cost $44 million to produce. If you haven't seen this documentary, go check it out because it's fascinating and you can watch it on Disney+. The film grossed $21.3 million domestically. It resulted in a loss for Walt Disney Studios and put the future of animation in jeopardy. It even received the nickname the film that almost killed Disney. It was not distributed as a home video release for more than a decade after its theatrical run after its disappointing performance. The film was the last Disney animated film to be completed at the original animation building of the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. The animation department was moved to the Airway facility in December 1984.
The live-action business was booming, and Jeffrey needed offices for his new stable of stars like Bette Midler and Robin Williams. He wanted the animation building. The news came down from the head of animation, Roy Disney, announcing that the animators would have to move out of the building and off the lot. What was going on here? I mean, this was the building where Walt Disney made Cinderella and Peter Pan, and we were having to vacate? All there was this memo. There's no meeting, no debate, just a memo.
Eventually, animation returned to the Burbank studio in the mid-1990s at a new facility. Thank you for watching, guys. You are a true Disney fan for watching until the end. This is a playlist where I do 100 facts from the beginning at Snow White up to the present day. And this was the start of the Eisner and Katzenberg era, and we're building up to the Renaissance era, where we get hit after hit after hit after hit with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, and so many more hits. Next week, I'll be discussing the next film released by Disney, The Great Mouse Detective. I'll see you there.